Welcome, everybody. My name is Francisco. I am from Luma Creations, and I'm here with Erika Diettes from Colombia. Erika is a visual artist with a degree in communications, and she has been to Liverpool in 2019 to do an exhibition at the Anglican Cathedral as part of the Culture Liverpool and the Liverpool celebration of women and the work of women across the whole year. Erika did an exhibition which, rather than me explaining, it's better if Erika tells us a little bit about it. And we're going to have a conversation, a chat about different elements of how artists are creating, or how artists see the context of their work within the pandemic that is everywhere in the world. So, welcome, Erika. Thank you for joining us.
Nice to see you again. It's
Yes.
always a pleasure to meet the friends that I had the incredible opportunity to meet in what I believe might have been my not my last, but my last big show pre-COVID. Let's put it like that.
Yes, probably. Yes, it was a pleasure to meet you, and I feel very lucky that I got the chance to spend some time with you here in Liverpool. So, Erika, do you want to tell us a little bit about what that show was about?
Well, the show that was the opening for the RISE program 2019, I brought from Colombia my work that is called Shrouds. In Spanish, it's sudarios. And those are very large pieces of silk with printed portraits of women that were forced to witness the massacre, the killing of their family members within different periods of what we called the Colombian armed conflict. All those events happened previously of the peace sign agreement. It was an incredible, I think I've never seen the Sudarios sort of being so honored like they were in the show in Liverpool. It was a very powerful and I have to say inspiring and very touching exhibition at the Anglican Cathedral. It was with Reverend Sue Jones. She did something that I think are the very few people that were able to witness that. She gave mass, a big celebration, a big prayer for Colombia, and I think it's one of the most touching and moving experiences of my entire career. Was that incredible prayer that Reverend Sue did for my country.
Yes, I think Liverpool has a nature of supporting and welcoming work that comes from that has a very human context,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of the history of Liverpool in a sense. It is a city of often of conflict, often of situations that require solidarity and support and love and care. And I think that's basically your exhibition brought a lot of that context to Liverpool. And because when I saw it, it was very much that it gave you a sense of although the subject matter was very, very strong and very, very serious, it also gave you a very, very strong sense of humanity. And to me, I mean, from my background and from where I come from and the journey that I have taken, it very much felt that. I personally, I felt the spirits, and I do that. um, and it made me think very, very strongly about connections. And I remember standing there and thinking, before I met you, um, when I was about to go and meet you, I was standing there watching and looking and sensing and feeling, and you know, it took me back to whole journey from when I came here as the son of a family that was in exile, and the context of it gave me a very strong sense of 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 how we are separated, but yet um, we're going through very, very similar journeys as a whole, as humanity, and we need to connect and work together to move forward. And I think these times now are very much that. Um, we can be very, very, very. I think we need to be very conscious of the importance of humanity right now, and the sense of being of working together, in solidarity and in compassion and connecting, because these things that come to test us are things that are basically saying to us, we're quite fragile, really, and we need to look
Yes.
after each other.
And
So saying all
I,
that,
I think, Francisco, we are living, it's very difficult the moment that we are living, but also it's, I think, one of the very rare opportunities where we feel that we are exactly as fragile here in Colombia, you in England, my friends in Uganda, or, like all over the world, we are, um, maybe for the very first time, sharing our humanity, because always it's about a conflict, that is very specific to each country. So we always feel, that's happening, some other place in the world. But for the very first time, we are fragile. uh, we're fragile in front of the same invisible enemy, and the consequences are exactly the same for you, for me, or for, someone somewhere else in the world. So I think this is a very good moment to sort of connect exactly as human beings.
yes, definitely. So one of the things that has come out a lot from the conversations and the work I've been doing since lockdown in Liverpool, which was the 23rd of March, um, has been that discussion about the fact that we can't hide from the fact from this new normal that people are talking about, because normality is what seems to happen in a context, and now we have a very different way of having to work. We were talking before about the simplicity of social distancing, which um, makes a very, very big um, difference to the way we work as artists.
Hmm.
Because both yourself, you and I, when we work as artists, the final piece that, like, the shrouds that you had at the exhibition in Liverpool, that's the end of the project. That's the end of the creative process. But before that, the whole journey that you take is very much about connecting and engaging and
With
being with
community.
others. Yeah.
Yes.
So for you, my question is, how do you deal with that new normal? How do you see the possibilities of continuing continue your journey as an artist and the work that you do? Or is there a difference? Are you thinking in a different way?
Frankly, it's been, for me, it's been very strange. I assume for everyone, but um, not being able, for example, to go to my studio. I had, like, all my tools, the camera, the lights, the background, what I need to be able to produce an image. I cannot get access to. I was able to go to my studio for the second time yesterday, and I just had time to sort of check that the lights are working, that there wasn't a pipe broken or something like that, but it wasn't really to go to be able to engage with the work that I was doing, because I was in the middle of a project. But I think this moment makes us think of things that are urgent in a way,
Mhm.
which is, like the first month, basically, I spent it trying to organize the new way of living here in our apartment. I live with two Great Danes, with one cat, my husband. He also had his studio and his office. I had my studio. And all of a sudden, we have to be here trying to do our best. Um, so basically, what I've been doing with the big project that I was working on, there's no, I don't have the capacity to sort of go back to it at this moment, because it had, I've, like you said, I always work with communities. It means physically going somewhere, also people going to where I am, and going back and forth with information, with to be able to photograph something like Sudarios. We spent lots of time to be
Mm.
able to reach the point where we were able to photograph those images. So at this moment, basically, I know we are taking a break. Like, I think we have to be present in this present.
Mm.
And the best way to sort of do that is the best way to help maybe is by staying at home, trying to thank God for social media. I'm in touch with many of the families that I have worked with through Facebook, through Twitter. So basically, it's still like the community of the family that has grown around projects like Sudarios, like Rio Abajo, like Relicarios. Um, and basically, I'm trying to support as much as I can the group of people that I've been working with. And that's all I can do for now. I think we will learn, we have to learn the new way of physically moving in the world. Yesterday that I was able to go to my studio, I wore the anti-fluid suit, the mask to cover my face. It's sort of learning again, um, to be able to go back and rethink our ideas. It's been, I think I have taken the most beautiful photographs of my dogs these days. So still photography is always present.
Mhm.
The other day I was looking at my living room and it looks like a photography studio, because I already have, so it's sort of my way of inhabiting the world, is to photograph what I have. And at this moment, I'm so lucky to just have the two dogs and the cat, and I've been enjoying them into sort of understanding time in a different way. I think the biggest um, thing that I have learned is that time is actually longer than we used to understand it. If we organize our ideas and sort of live in a different rhythm, I think it's been good to sort of rethink all the urgency and all the how can I put this? Como la rapidez, como
The speed.
All the speed that I at least I can talk by myself for myself. Uh, I think I was always moving too fast,
Mm,
and I think it's good to take a pause and see and understand that maybe the next project that is the same one that I've been working on for 4 years,
mm.
uh, maybe it will take four more or five, and that's fine. It's not. We don't have to run against. I don't even know why I was, always in a hurry. I don't even understand it. So it's time to sort of also stay in connection. I mean, I think with the families that I have worked with, it's incredible the way we have been communicating. Um, they send me messages to see how we're doing. They see that the dogs are, in a cute photograph today. So, it's sort of bonding more with all the recorrido,
The
all the
well,
journey
the
of
journey, yes. How I
the
thought it was.
journey.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, so I think this has given us sort of like the pause to
Hmm.
sort of enjoy those friendships, because at
Yes.
the end, when you work with communities and when you become part of their lives as much as they are always part of mine. So I think for me, it's been sort of the opportunity uh, to actually enjoy and recognize and see all those incredible human beings that I have encountered through this very long journey. So just taking it easy.
No, I understand that. Yes. No, I mean it is a time to reconnect as well. Um,
Exactly.
I mean, I have kind of, just asking people that I haven't spoken to or seen for a long time, just sending a message. How are you? How's the family? How's everybody? How are you doing? What are you doing? And you have a reconnection, and that's really important. And maybe that's, if nothing else, that's something that's very special and very, it's worthwhile the stopping. Um,
Definitely.
so before I ask you the other bit, I'm kind of going to mix it up a little bit, because what's the situation in like in Bogota when we talk about quarantine? How are they managing? What's the strategy of in Bogota and Colombia of how they manage the quarantine? What have they what structures have they put in place that you have to follow?
Well, there's many. I mean, the first week of quarantine was strict. No
Mm,
one could go out besides how you call them, essential
mm,
um, workers.
yeah,
That means people, like obviously all the doctors, the nurses,
yeah, yeah.
and supermarkets. That was it. The rest was closed for almost 2 months. These 2 weeks, they have been sort of trying to open again a little bit the economy, because, as you know, Francisco, the big problem, and I think the pandemic has sort of made it more visible, is inequality. There's no the social differences in Latin America can be huge. I mean, there's a huge gap, uh, the economical gap in
Hmm.
between certain sectors. So I think the pandemic has made more visible the level of poverty, the needs that many communities are facing. Also, it has been it has been making visible uh, solidarity. I think with the pandemic, um, now we have the telephone of my neighbor, just in case they need something. So
Hmm.
it's sort of also established good bonds with community. But the social inequality, it's what is, because basically the decision is, um, do I take care of myself to not get sick, or do I leave my kids to starve because I'm not working? So they're trying to sort of cover with many programs in the entire country, to supply food, to supply many things, but it just is impossible. So you see lots of people in the street trying to gain a life, to earn money, to be able to sustain themselves. The level of unemployment now, because of many businesses had to just close. So there's a big percentage of unemployment. The numbers yesterday here in Bogota were 3,000, almost 3,200 new cases. So it's moving very fast. I think in Colombia we are now in a very high peak. So we are in the middle of getting sick and trying to get alive.
Yeah. I've had conversations with friends in Chile, for example, that are saying a lot of people are thinking, well, if I get COVID, I may or may not die. I may be okay. But if I don't go out and work, I will starve and I will die. So
Exactly.
it's a choice between certain death through hunger or potential death through this silent, um, invisible virus. So that's I understand that totally. And because you mentioned before something to do with the ID numbers that you were allowed to go out dependent on a particular day. With
Yes, if your ID is an even number, you are not allowed to go out in even days. So it switches.
Okay.
They tried doing it by gender. It lasted like 1 week, like only women one day, men one day, but that didn't work. They're trying to control, to have not all the people at the same time in the street, in the public transport. Basically, I think that's like the big concern is how close are you, like in the bus, or
Yeah.
so that's why they're sort of trying to establish different schedules, different ways um, of people being able to go outside and work. It's very difficult and very confusing times. I think it's
There's a question because in England it's a weird kind of mindset. What is the how do people um, um, act feel about, and do people wear masks outside? What's the kind of
yes.
number of people that wear masks outside?
Most during the first weeks, my studio is in a very dense
Mm,
area in the
yes.
center, in the
Yeah.
downtown center in Bogota. So the first time that I went, not many people had masks. Also, you see people that live in the street.
Hmm.
So many. I think this is sort of like one of the saddest things that I have seen. Uh, Many of them had masks, but they didn't have shoes. So those are the contradictions of Latin America. It's perfectly fine for them to have to cover their face, but it was pouring rain, and many of the people from the street, they just didn't have shoes, uh, and no masks. So it's that's Latin America. We are
Mm,
always filled with those contradictions.
mm. So okay. what next? Um, have you had a chance to speak, or have you had conversations with other artists, with other people that are trying to find a situation where, because there are different art forms, obviously. For example, here one of the biggest issues is the performing arts, because the performing arts require an audience, and that's not going to happen for a while here. Um, but what are the thoughts around how you move forward as an artist in Colombia? Are there any discussions, any platforms, any strategies?
There has been lots of discussions about what kind of support el Ministerio de Cultura is going to give
Hmm.
um, to artists, because um, like you said, I mean, performing arts, all the theaters are closed. Some museums are starting to think to open, but I mean, we are just not ready for to understand the cultural things like before. I mean, I don't think if we are trying to push to open theaters, that's a big mistake, because we don't know when that it will be possible. So I think there have been a lot of new platforms, artists that are sharing their work on internet. I think, for example, in the case of my work, I always worked very, very hard on making the actual physical piece something that it's really not translatable in the images, because when you see the photographs of the Sudarios installation in Liverpool, I mean, you've seen them both,
Hmm.
and it's completely different when you are in the space, in the cathedral, walking under the Sudarios. And I think that's an experience uh, that maybe um, I don't know when we'll be able to have the audience do that. So, I think at this point, we have to rethink um, and understand that probably the most important part of our work is how do we share it virtually. I think artists, more than ever, we have to be able to be very capable of not only creating that experience, like not only thinking in the physical experience of the work, but I think we have to definitely understand that the main way of sharing the work, maybe for a little while, 2 years, 3 years, will be on virtual,
Mm.
will be on social media. And I think we have to sort of be more open to share that in these medias that basically keeps you connected with
Mm.
people from all over the world.
So how do you think then Colombian artists in Colombia, how can they survive this economically?
Well, it's going to be very difficult, I think, and I want to say this with utmost respect, but it wasn't easy before.
Of course.
So it's not it's not like I think as artists we have to understand that if we don't create to serve the community and the country, our work could be very obsolete in these times. I think we have to sort of understand um, that the creation of an artwork it's essential in the sense that it is what will tell the story in the future. I think some artists have the capacity to be working in new work in their house. Some, like me, are finding it a little bit more difficult to sort of, you know, uh, I don't even have my equipment here. If I bring my equipment here, I really don't have the space to be able to photograph, you know, I don't have 5 meters away from the wall. I have that in my studio. So it's sort of rethinking, you know, and it's
Mm.
rethinking the physicality of the work. That's what's basically
What
uh,
what's about actually creating the journey?
that you know, I think that's what I have been doing. You know,
Mm.
it's sort of just understanding yourself
Mm.
during this process. You know, I think, and that's why what I created for We Rise Together
Mhm.
for Liverpool, when they sent me the invitation, basically it was what's happening with you at this moment, you know? So what's happening with me at this moment is that I have, you know, a crystal camera and my mobile, and, you know, I'm just here present in this present. That's the only thing I can do, you know? I don't, I have to say very humbly, I don't have the capacity to sort of think at this particular moment, the big exhibition about COVID.
Mm.
I am
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
living, I am living, I am,
You're living the
uh,
exhibition of COVID.
exactly, exactly. So, you
So you
know,
need to have a camera pointing at you all the time.
oh no, for myself. But, you know, Francisco, I think it's also um, understanding that that I don't have the capacity now, and
Mm.
maybe that is because, you know, emotionally, I've, you know, my father died 5 months ago, so many things sort of come together in this moment, um, that just staying still, you know, has
Yeah.
been the biggest effort that I have had to make. You know, next week I was supposed to be in Bologna in a lecture. It was a seminar about violence and art, and I was going to in the Umberto Eco Institute. Um, that can be done virtually, but it is not the same thing as, you know, being there. And I think we have to sort of pay attention and try to transmit messages that are um, relevant and important at this moment. I am not saying that the other work is not important, but it's simply it needs it needs another physical capacity that we don't have at this moment. You know, I
Mhm.
think it would be absolutely how do you say egoist, selfish, to be thinking, you know, in the next exhibition, in the next museum. No, you know, I'm basically thinking uh, what neighbor needs something. If I can do something for someone that is relevant at this moment, you know, and I think
Yeah.
that's the only capacity I have for now.
I think I understand totally. I mean, I've been doing a lot of that. At the moment, every Thursday, for example, I go out and I go to this place called Granby Toxteth Development Trust, which is in Toxteth, Liverpool. I pick up a load of food parcels and then I distribute them to a set of names of people who are either shielding. It means they have underlying things that COVID could really affect them,
Mhm.
or they're elderly and they can't get out. So that's one of the things I do every Thursday. And it's kind of gives me a sense of, it actually energizes me, because it gives me a
And
sense
I
of,
think, Francisco, if I mean, it's important to sort of understand that um, you can also help the people that are close
Mm.
around you, the people that you have
Yeah.
worked with, because of course, that the team of people that we work with to be able to put together something like the shrouds,
Yes.
it's a team of at least 10 people,
Hmm.
at least. So, it's being aware maybe of, because none of us are working, so we all sort of have the same needs, but we can exchange, and it's not only about physical things, what we were discussing, just calling someone, that
Yes.
just emailing, the person that gave me my first show, or my friends from El Centro de la Imagen de República Dominicana, that they're always very close, just knowing that your circuit is okay.
Yeah.
It just once, it takes recognizing the journey that you have done so far.
Totally. Um, it's. I think it's one of the most important things, actually. And taking stock, stopping and going. It's like you're saying. You need to learn. It's almost with me. It's learning to stop.
Yes. And supporting what we can, and I
Mm.
think that's why you, I've done, I don't know, many of these interviews, because I know it supports also the Festival of Photography. It supports uh, all the things that already had been part of my journey.
Hmm.
Maybe my presence, 1 hour of a phone call, a video call, it supports all the efforts of many people. And I know we will figure it out. This will pass at some point, and we will
Yes.
learn to 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 move physically different in the world. I have to tell you that one of the things that I am very grateful in life is that I was able, until this point, to go physically to many countries, where if I hear a news of something that is happening in República Dominicana, something that is happening in Liverpool, I immediately, I pay attention and say, oh, how is Sarah? How, like, you have those human connections, and I think that's simply such a big fortune.
Mm. Okay. I think that I could talk to you forever. Um, but I'm going to bring it back together. It's wonderful speaking to you, and hopefully people will get a lot out of that conversation. And what I'm trying to do is get that sense of understanding from the different places in Latin America, how people are doing, how artists. I'm focusing on artists mainly because that's my background and that's what I want. For me, um, although at the moment we're having to hold back and find different ways of creating or of telling that story. I think it's really important that that we keep thinking and keep supporting each other and keep working together and finding ways. And if somebody finds a way, an interesting way to share that, that might help somebody in another country or in another place. Because the art is it's what keeps us in a lot of ways. It's what keeps us sane and human and gives us the ability to feel often. Um,
Totally. And I think,
thank
we just have to recognize that we are all fragile. And I think when we're artists that address such strong, difficult, horrific uh, themes, sometimes recognizing your own fragility
Yes,
uh, seems irrelevant. But at this particular moment of human history, I think it's very important to sort of recognize that maybe it is okay if you're not creating the biggest and more important
Of course.
piece, of your art. Maybe it's okay if you try to stay healthy and if you try, uh, you know, just take care of yourself so that you can take care of the rest. I think one of the beautiful, incredible messages of pandemia is that it is the most important thing is that you have to take care of yourself to be able to serve your community, and that's something that I don't think we had it clear, but now I think it's a very graphic, specific moment
Yes.
of understanding that whatever mistake or miscare that I take with myself will affect you. So the only way of understanding community is by understanding each individual. And I mean, just with my entire humanness, I say there will be a time again where I can create something new. I know there will be a time where we will see each other again. Um, and let's just keep working to make that happen. Staying
Thank
healthy.
you. Thank you so much, Erika. It's been wonderful speaking to
Thank you,
you.
Francisco, for this invitation. Lots of love to all my friends in Liverpool.
Yes.
I hope you're having sunny days.
No, it's not today, but it's been some nice days. It's cleared up, not today. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.